you so very much for being back. And if you just joined us, you're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, broke down in tears while addressing the media over the widespread failure and the technical glitches recorded in the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. A recent technical review by the board revealed that a critical oversight in server updates compounded by human error led to the invalidation of results for 379,997 candidates across Lagos State and the 5 southeastern states. The board confirmed that affected candidates would be rescheduled for receipts. According to JAMB, the issue ranged from incomplete questions to computer-based test CBT system malfunctions. These lapses contributed to mass failure, with over 1.5 million out of nearly 1.9 million candidates scoring below 200. The developments have sparked outrage among students, parents, and education advocates. Tech educator Alex Onyia is reportedly mobilizing legal actions on behalf of thousands of affected students, demanding transparency, access to exam scripts, and reforms in the system. Education Minister Dr. Tunji Alausa defended the integrity of the process, saying the drastic drop in scores reflect a crackdown on exam malpractices and offers a more accurate picture of academic performance. The incident has renewed the national calls for systemic reforms in JAMB's technical and administrative operations. I still have with me Emeka Madunago and Innocent Aduluba. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being here. Let me start with you, Innocent Aduluba, on this particular matter. This JAMB thing has been ongoing for a while now. We have been discussing about it. It's still a developing story. And interestingly, we have it today that the JAMB director, or chair, Oloyede, has of course admitted, and as a good leader that he has of course taken the blame for everything, which equally led him shed tears. But the question is, do you think those tears are good enough explanation to students who might have been going through lots of psychological trauma right now? Then secondly, do you think we should at least give Oloyede, some brief, knowing that he had admitted, unlike Nigerian leaders who never and would never admit to errors?
Oh, well, Harry, it's there is that book I read in school, 1 Week, 1 Trouble. The round character of that book, Wilson Tagbo. It's what we see. The episodes are not inspiring, not palatable. And reckon that we are discussing the destiny of children. People who are about to cross that threshold, it's beyond the registrar. It gets to the minister, Dr. Alausa. It's an organic thing. It's a systemic thing. And, those who are going to retake these exams are those who thought they've gone past this. Yeah. I don't think, and even
because to prepare for exam is a whole lot, and when you go past it, you don't want to go back again.
There are lots of brilliant, very intelligent men and women who, because they are parents now, working now, it's not an excuse, don't even want to be doing exams again. Do you get my point? Brilliant people, it could even be your classmates, like, man, this, but the rigor of the preparation is not something you want to repeat as a ritual. You tie yourself to it, face it once and for all, and then get this kind of it's a recall now. For the first time in Nigeria, that's good accountability. Yeah. It will spare many people some blushes. Then again, Nigerians should embrace the opportunity of a second chance. I'm only praying that this should not cost anybody even 50 kobo. Don't say we are not paying, it's free. But to register into this hall, bring 1.5. Don't let it be impeccably immaculate. So somebody will know that we are not doing this and still parting with any of our a farthing, you know. Well, I think this should go beyond JAMB, beyond the registrar. We should start looking at what attention the federal government, the state government pays to education. Look, if you go on social media, you will find, let me use the word, if I'm not exaggerated, maybe 8, 7 years and below, you will find Japanese children, Korean children, Taiwanese children, you know, all those, I'm talking of the South East Asia, the people they call Asian tiger,
yes.
Thai children,
Yes.
Singaporeans, you will see them, Vietnamese children,
Yes.
all of them in class with tabs, you know. Even I've seen for Morocco, I'm not saying they are not here in Nigeria, but it will be one posh, exclusive nursery or private school. I'm saying there is public.
Public schools.
It's public. It's alarming that in this abundantly, immensely rich country, Nigeria, there are many poor people. People cannot marry that dialectic. It's appalling. So it's one thing, like I tell you, you just see headlines. And sometimes, I hope this one is real, sometimes Nigerians are lured with those fantastic headlines. And then we celebrate the headline. That thing never comes to pass. In fact, if you ask for it, you are termed a whaler. So Henry, it's welcoming. Let the man, if you ask me, and all the crew, keep their job. Let's see what this second chance will look like. How it will be better organized. And possibly a lesson for another fresh JAMB. But in a very populated country like Nigeria, we should not be afraid to change personnel.
Very, very true.
People come, people go.
Very, very true. Emeka Emadnago, are you still there with us? Hello, Mr. Emeka, are you there? Okay, I think we're still having a little bit of an issue here. But the question I would love to ask is, you know, as much as, because it's actually very right that you did say that we should. Okay, yes, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, we wanted
Yes.
to, yes, I wanted to ask, Innocent had actually talked about the fact that the JAMB registrar, Oloyede, should maintain his job. But Nigerians are actually not on that same frequency. But the truth is, do you think it's okay for us to possibly throw away the baby with the bathwater?
Oloyede, the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, should be thrown out. It's immediate effect.
Really?
It's not about any baby with the bath. It's not about throwing any baby with the bath, because there's no baby in the bathwater. This thing was already orchestrated. He even admitted it now. He said it was sabotage, human error. He admitted it Oloyede. You see, is that this thing went on for 16 times. They said it was the 17th session that they dictated and corrected it. With all the, you know, there was a time Oloyede was carried away. Oh, yeah, he's making money for the federal government. And people killing him. Is JAMB a revenue agency or examination regulatory body? You know, when you get carried away by things that have nothing to do with your responsibility, that is how you run into forced errors. What you have now, people are already even admitting, people are already in an ethnic agenda because FOI requests, freedom of information requests, have been sent to JAMB. Thus, which local governments in Lagos were affected. It's already even been said that it's local in Lagos, Amuodofin, Ojo, and what other local governments, where you have a lot of Southeasterners, that this was a great sabotage against Southeast. It's already, it's already imagined, Well, I don't believe because I don't have facts to prove it, but when they bring out the FOI, when they respond to the request, then we will see what they have to say. I mean, how could such a thing have gone on? The future of youths, you are now drawing youths into your dirty games. Unacceptable. when this thing broke out, first of all, with the complaints about the odd hour, 6:30 a.m. when asked candidates to resume.
No,
the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, came out. He came out and said that, you see, it was a wrong hour and order. What did JAMB do? They started feeling and puffing. No, you are wrong. If you went on X, you would have seen how belligerent they were.
Emeka, but the 6:30 is not for the exam to start up. The 6:30 was for them to have the leeway to prepare. The exam was to start up by 8 a.m. So 6:30 was just for them to ensure that they have a leeway before the exam started.
6:30. No, go and look at that JAMB statement. Go and look at the JAMB statement. That 6:30 was for accreditation. They admitted it themselves to start an exam by 8 a.m. Where? How can you start an exam by 8 a.m.?
Even 8 a.m. is early.
I did JAMB 9 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. How can you start an exam 8 a.m.? When my children did JAMB, that was the same thing they did. I had to take to a town about 50 kilometers away to get there by, to get to there by 8 a.m. And it rained heavily that morning. It was, you needed to have seen my clothes that day, my feet. Everywhere mud, everywhere was full of mud. You know? What about parents who didn't have cars? Eh? What about poor indigent parents who had to take their children long distances? Eh? Then that wasn't enough. The Minister of Education, a nephrologist who doesn't know anything about education, he came out to say, it was a proof of the maths failure was a proof of JAMB's anti-examination malpractice system. What? With that investigation, he already came out. He already knew the reason. Tunji Alausa knows what is good for you. Resign because it's a disgrace. When things like this happen, you shut your mouth and you hold on. Let them be investigated because they were still huffing and puffing. They were trying to bury it. Until news broke, even as of yesterday, Mondam was still huffing and puffing. Even when he was talking about, holding a review meeting, you needed to look at the tone. See the tone of their press statement. Very arrogant. And then eventually, news broke out of that Okwesusi in Ikorodu who committed suicide. That's 16-year-old girl who committed suicide because she had a low. Then immediately, they had a meeting. That was when we now saw the fake tears. The useless of the JAMB registrar. He should have resigned. Who asked him to come and cry? Is it, are we talking about Nollywood or National Theatre? We're talking about the lives, the future, the destiny of young people. You are shedding tears. You are a disgrace. Let me tell him he's a disgrace to the nation. Because this thing could have been avoided. People were saying about this, these things should have been avoided. But what it shows is that there has been a systematic decay in examination, in the conduct of examination of those centralized examinations. And if you look at it over the years, over the last 18 years, performance has gone down from 63% to 22% as out there. But they did this time. You're running a CBT country where you don't have regular power supply. CBT centers are don't even have standard ICT equipment. Then many of the pupils are not even attuned to ICT, to operating IT. And then other issues like that. You are not talking about the first session, the patch, and all of those things. Then the next thing, to show you that there is a sinister agenda, go on X and see what some people are trying. That the ICT department of JAMB is headed by one Mr. Fabian Okoro, and that they are saying the thing affected the East most, and that it was an Igbo man who did it. And meanwhile, the head of ICT is one Mrs. B. Usman. Go to JAMB website, photograph is not there. It's only her name. Why? Who is hiding something? The photograph, the JAMB registrar is there. The photograph of some other JAMB officials are there. But that woman's photograph is not there. What are they trying to hide? So that tells you that, you see, what we are doing to ourselves in this country, honestly speaking, we continue, but let me tell you the truth. One day thing will unravel. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time. It's a disgrace, to say the least. Because years ago, Oloyede was warned, don't leave your primary duty of conducting CBT for Nigerian candidate in UTME and, in ministry, in MD. Don't leave your primary duty to start chasing generation of revenue. JAMB was not set up to generate revenue. JAMB should actually be received government subvention so that its operations can notch. Even if you say margin of error, it should not be more than maybe 0.1%. But look at what happened. You are shedding tears. Let me tell you, if you are one of the candidates, would you for the exam? If I was one of the candidates, I'd rather learn a trade or go and learn a skill. What I mean? Children are already demoralized. Candidates are already demoralized, and you are shedding tears. No. Oloyede should come out with the truth. That sabotage he talked about, that human error he talked about, it should not be disputed. The minimum is that some heads must roll. Those who were arrested for this must go to jail. That is the minimum. We will not let it go. People are already planning for court cases, different court cases. JAMB should get ready for court cases. We'll let this go. Because enough of all these things that we think, why are we doing this to ourselves? Why are we doing this to ourselves? You say the something, whatever, in the Lagos region affected the Southeast. Why should the Lagos region be joined to the Southeast? Why can't they be separated? Is it not a digital thing? We are digital natives ourselves. So why should there be a Lagos region covering? What if there's a disruption in network and all of that? Lagos region cannot actually monitor the Southeast. What will happen? I mean, you see, we just we just continually make ourselves a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. And it's sad.
Yes.
I woke up this morning thinking about it, and I was shedding tears. I tell you the truth. I woke up from my bed, I thought about it, and tears were rolling down from my eyes.
Were your own tears? Were your own tears genuine? Were your own tears genuine?
Let me tell you the truth. My tears came from a place of pain. None of my children was affected, though. But you know what? No. When you are dealing with the lives of people, to take utmost care. Let me tell you, in China, some days ago, there was a scandal. Some people connived and adulterated baby milk, expired baby milk to Nigeria. All the people involved in that in China were executed. Do you know what, in Nigeria? Nobody was even arrested or tried or prosecuted. So when you think about things like that, you just wonder, where are we heading to as a nation?
Very, very true.
As a country.
Very, very true.
It's sad.
It's very so sad. Innocent Ajuruba. There used to be a time when the University College Ibadan, was actually created or set up as an outstation for the University of London. So students from the University of London come to the University College Ibadan to come and do their study more, learning from people there. And one would wonder, what happened to those era when universities were a lovely place? Of course, administrations to getting into those universities were awesome. People from India were coming to Nigeria, from Saudi Arabia, and all the places were coming to Nigeria. Of course, JAMB was not there, which means that the JAMB we have now, according to Emeka, is looking more like a funnel for making money. Do you think we should just scrap it and move on?
I've already said it, that the JAMB should be scrapped. Those days you were talking about, the University College Ibadan does not need an external body to ratify who they admit. Every university has a board, has a senate, and they have the competency to carry out placement exams and admit their own students who would have met the prerequisites at the WAEC level. You know, JAMB should be scrapped. JAMB should be scrapped. JAMB should be scrapped. Emeka just told you now, an examination conducting body is praising itself for generating revenue. What revenue? Is that not like a helpless extortion? Because if you are going to write the JAMB and they tell you pay this, pay this, pay this, it's helpless. You have no other route than to pay.
But don't you think that's rather a show of transparency? Maybe we are seeing it from another perspective.
The primary duty of JAMB is not revenue generation.
But they shouldn't give out those exams for free. Of course, something something has to be paid. Okay,
there are government subventions.
Yes, there are government subventions, but they are not enough because those CBTC centers are rented. People own them. It's a business, right? Every student is paid for. Every student is paid for by JAMB. So what students pay is what they collect together to pay to CBT centers so they can run. So if someone does such and there's left over and decides not to pocket it and say, okay, government, this is what is remaining, don't you think that's a show of transparency and leadership accountability that we're talking about here?
Henry, I would like you to be straight. How much do you think is the escalade of the president? How much do they use to refurbish the home of the vice president? This country is poor. We bring out money and sponsor people to go to Israel, Jerusalem, Mecca. What is now too big for children of the country? What? Have you seen election campaigns? Do you see the cash that, what are they called? Delegates. Do you see what they receive in dollars? What is a CBT? And the reason we go to rent, or how do you say it, the CBT centers, is because of the government's incapacity, inefficiency. Such a place should exist owned by the government for such purposes. You want to compare that a CBT center? Look, it is constitutional in many states in this country. Here, when a governor finishes his tenure, whether 4 or 8 years, that governor, the state will build a house for that governor in that state and one in Abuja. Are you aware? We have not come down to the vice or deputy governor. You know, these are monies available that could go to where they can use to grow our future children, our future population. You know, there are okay. Somebody, Sheikh Husani, the Kaduna senator, has published what they get as remuneration, income, and allowances. If a country is serious about, it's like Emeka taking his child to the JAMB center. If we are serious, you will shed your spendings in all those, I don't know what to call it, and channel them where it will be productive, it will impact lives of people who are growing, crossing a threshold into their future destinies. Those business centers are there because of ineptitude from the government. That's why they are there. These are things. How have you seen a governor's entourage, a minister's entourage, a commissioner's entourage, local government chairman? During the food crisis, food protest last year August. What was the name of that protest, please?
End bad governance.
End bad governance. The LCDA, where I live, I will just not call their name. From all the hierarchy of the officers, brought table to the main road, not street, the main road, at about 10-11, with some of the costliest bottles of drink, and say this is their own end bad governance protest. As you are passing by, they are calling you, you can join them instead of going to the road to protest. And if you want to trace, these are government money or large payments they benefited from the government that has now enabled them to carry out this lavish. There is money where a government prioritizes the life of each individual. We have family members who are visitors in their country. If I tell you how they treat them in hospitals, I'm ashamed that here that I'm an indigene. Let me try and take my wife to give birth. You will see list as if you are marrying a young lady from, I dare say, Imo State. Let me, Igbo Kwenu, with all apologies. So the resources to cater for people in this country are there. They are there. Let us harness them the right way. And like I will tell you, if we are that poor, we run a bicameral legislature, scrap the Senate, let's stay with House of Rep. Or scrap the House of Rep, let's stay with the Senate. You will see where that budget will go. Again, we run a compensatory government where there is Minister of Labor, there is Minister of State for Labor, Minister of Education, Minister of State, Minister, all of this. If you put them, Henry, you will be hungry to write JAMB again. Yeah, Henry, and all those points I've made, that's what I mean. We cannot overemphasize it. There is money where the government is serious for children coming who are the future of our tomorrow. I think I'll drop it there.
Yes, very, very true. And it's very important that we maybe try to clear some facts here about JAMB and what it stands for. JAMB generated revenue primarily through the sale of registration forms and other services like printing results, while the exact amount JAMB makes annually isn't publicly released. It is estimated that in 6 years, JAMB generated over 46 billion in form sales and had remitted just 2 billion naira in 2023. That's very true. Considering how much our parliamentarians take home collectively, considering how much that was allocated to the fixing of the vice president's house in Abuja and the president's house in Lagos and Abuja, and every money going into other issues that are not as important as JAMB, one would ask, why should students pay 5,700 naira to sit for JAMB that one politician can actually take care of? It's a very big call. I love to believe that Nigerian leaders and those in authority should, of course, take heed to some of these things and allow dividends of democracy at least reach Nigerian students. Thank you so very much, Innocent Aduluba, for making our time.
My pleasure to be here.
And also Emeka Madunagu, we equally want to thank you for making a date with us, and we'd love to end it at this point. Please do well to visit us if you may. You can always find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. I am Henry Igubike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
You're from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for today. A public interest law firm, the Chambers of Evans Ofeli, has strengthened legal action against the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, following what it described as widespread failure and systemic breakdown during the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME. In a petition addressed to the Registrar of JAMB, the firm, led by Evans Ofeli, cited numerous cases of technical malfunctions, poor logistics, and alleged safety breaches that it claimed severely compromised the credibility and fairness of the examination process. Ofeli, who signed the petition in his capacity as both a legal practitioner and education advocate, alleged that the condition under which the 2025 UTME was conducted rendered it unjust and detrimental to the mental well-being and academic future of many candidates. One of the major issues raised in the letter was the early scheduling of exams, where candidates, many of whom are minors, were reportedly instructed to arrive at examination centers as early as 6 a.m. This, the firm argued, subjected young students to undue stress and physical exhaustion before their exams even began. Beyond scheduling, the petition alleged that some candidates were reported missing during the course of the examination period. The firm described this as a serious failure on JAMB's part to guarantee the safety and security of young Nigerians placed under its care. Now let's have this conversation. I still have with me Dr. Oyebile and Innocent Aduloba. Doctor, I'd love to start with you. You are in the system and academia, and I think it's very so important that we'll start off with you and equally have your say. What's your take on this particular matter? Because the complaints are all over the place. It's looking more like a protest right now on social media by young lads who are really not comfortable. Most of them before last year, who they took the exams and had about 240. One particular girl said she had about 247 last year. And she repeated exams this year and had 145 and wondered how that was even possible in the first place. So what do you make of this, knowing that you are in the system?
Well, I think we should look at the issue dispassionately and holistically. Some of the reasons why we are blaming JAMB is not of JAMB's doing.
Really?
It's a systemic failure from Nigeria generally. For instance, I saw some people protesting that why should JAMB insist that the exam should be CBT alone? Why not pen and paper as we used to do in the past? And I said, well, we are trying to produce students of the 21st century and in the 21st century. So why should we insist on doing what is done? It's just like the herders who don't want to do ranching and want to carry their cattle from Sokoto to Lagos by road, through the bush.
But doctor, in the case of JAMB, doctor, in the case of JAMB, it's very clear that we do not have enough infrastructure to carry whatever dream that we have. An internet facility is not there, electricity is not there. So why do we explore opportunities that the infrastructure that should carry it is not there?
Well, JAMB has a duty to do what it needs to do. It is not in the orbit of JAMB to provide stable electricity. It is not in the orbit of JAMB to provide computers in secondary schools and so on. Because I even heard people saying that, okay, what about students from rural areas who have never seen a computer in their lifetime and all that and so on and so forth. Therefore, they are blaming JAMB for all that. No, that is not the business of JAMB. Because, in all honesty, what JAMB is doing, some of it might be too drastic, but I think it is the way to go. For instance, the issue of saying that they ask students to come to the exam centers by 6 a.m. For people living in Lagos that know the traffic situation in Lagos, and because the centers are scattered, some people are living in an area where there is no CBT center. So they have to leave the house early to go and write the exam. The people that are complaining about they are making the children to leave home very early and all that, for goodness sake, if such a child has to catch a flight by 8 a.m. at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, when they wake up at 4 a.m., if that is the time that they will wake up and get to the airport on time. So we should not begin to say that we are looking at the issue in such a way that they have to wake up that early. The exam starts by 8. Most of the exams start by 8. JAMB is only advising students to get there by 6. Not necessarily that the exam will start by 6, but they are just giving them a head start. People get to their center by 7. By 7:30, they start accreditation. By 8 o'clock to 8:30, the exam has started. If the system now breaks down, that is another problem. That is another issue. JAMB also, I believe, look for centers where they know that they have the capacity. If there is no electricity, they have generator or whatever to power the computers. And also, we know that this system didn't start today. The CBT didn't start this year. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 3-4 years or sessions that they've been doing CBT.
Yeah, but you have to select. People now, you have to select which you want. It's not compulsory. So people who are not computer literate would often go for the manual. Why people who are go for the CBT? So it should be like that. I think so. Don't you think so?
No, I don't. I think that everything should be uniform. What we should talk about is that the government or the school authorities that don't have computers to be encouraged to have computers. The world has moved on. We cannot continue to move as if we are in the dark ages. We should not blame. Yes, I believe JAMB has its faults. There are some areas of lapses that JAMB should have looked into. But on the other hand, the parents should also, and the school authorities and government especially, should also invest in this. If you go around Lagos secondary schools, how many of them have computer laboratories? These are things that we should be talking about. Because if you don't have computer laboratory where students can practice or be exposed to the use of computers, when they get to exam centers, no matter how brilliant a child is, if a child is not exposed to the use of computer, to put on a computer or seeing a computer for the first time, rather than do what he's supposed to do, he might be doing something else. So we need to encourage government agencies, government schools, and our government to do the needful. Rather than the president, the governors, the legislators buying million cars that are worth millions of naira and so on, this should be plowed into the education sector.
All right, doctor.
It is demeaning or unbelievable that Nigeria today, we have a school system that doesn't have a running laboratory, computer system. And it runs through even the university system. It is not only at primary school or secondary school level, up to university level. They don't have all these. Why? I mean,
all right.
It's important. We also blame the government, not necessarily every time we think JAMB is doing what is wrong. I know parents are at edge. They are not happy with it, but what do? We have to move with the times.
All right, Doctor. Innocent Adoluba. Lots of people will disagree with Doctor. He said we have to move with the time. And you will agree with me, a very classical example. English, for instance, is a universal language which everyone is encouraged to speak. But in China, they would rather love to teach their children in their local language because politics is local. Okay, they feel that if they do what is most comfortable for its people, they will get it faster. So do you agree with what a doctor had said?
Well, with the Chinese example, it is part of why China has its strength. Of course, there are people learning Mandarin here and there, but you cannot penetrate all of Chinese intelligence because that language is indigenous to
them.
Dr. Tunji Alausa, the Minister of Education, has explained on Channels TV interview that even that result is a big concern, and that it's because the exam was being conducted in a computer-based testing system the proper way, and that's why that result came out like that. Now, if we want to take statistics, about nearly 2 million people wrote the...
Yes, about 1.9 actually.
1,955,069 applicants. I like figures. Figures are facts. Now, 420,415 candidates scored higher than 200. The implication, 1.5 million didn't make it. So, and when you look at that data now, it now tells us that less than 1% of all the candidates scored higher than 300. Just less than 1%. 75% of these candidates scored lower than 200. If you look at, and these are disturbing data breakdown. Now, the interpretations will come here and there, but let's base it on this number. The minister also said, if I quote him, that they have implemented strong security measures, and as a result, fraud or cheating has been completely eliminated. He went on. Yes. Here, Dr. Tunji Alausa, unfortunately, we cannot say the same for WAEC and NECO. What does that mean? The route through which children prepare for this, your CBT, does not have CBT. It's out there in the media. And so, it is apples and oranges. Henry, you cannot learn how to drive with automatic, and the day you were presented with a driver's license, you are given a manual vehicle. You know. So, we are discussing the destiny and the future and the investment of Nigeria. We are not basing it summarily on an examination result to credit a minister and praise a working system.
Yes.
This country, you and I, in some good number of years to come, God willing, will not be here. These children passing and failing will be here, CBT or not. Yeah. You know, so I don't know how we rationalize things. Look at the volume of failure. So, just like our beavers, is Nigeria cursed with technological materials? Are we cursed? These beavers that messed elections in 2023 are excelling here and there. This CBT that we are struggling with are excelling out there. You know, somebody in, I served in Oyo, so I will name a place. Somebody in a place as remote as Tedi in a local government called Atisbo or Agoa Modu Shekpeteri. Do they have CBT to prepare in their school? Let's leave the state capitals.
Exactly.
Then you go to Ekiti. It's an educational. Is somebody in Ilupeju Ekiti, Aramoko, are they using CBT?
Do they even have the?
You go to Imo, there is Owerri. Is somebody in Obowo or Ngokpala using? Are you getting me? We are in Lagos. Is somebody in Itoki using CBT? Not Ikeja. You are in Kwara. Ilorin is lovely. What of someone in Barteng or Jeba or Patigi? So this country, we need to start waking up from the state capitals and feeling that things are fine.
Exactly.
Some states in this country have no second city. Yes. There is Oyo in state. What are the towns? Ibadan. Maybe Ogbomoso. The rest are urban villages. You go to Ogun State. What are the towns?
Oyo is not an urban village.
Sir? Because Oyo is sir, I will tell you, Oyo town have St. Bernardine's Secondary School and Ajayi Crowther University at the junction to Awe. Haven't I been there now, sir? But what are the indices of urbanization that you will compare to? Sorry, sir, I'm heading somewhere. If you go to Kaduna, after Kaduna town, it's Zaria. Yeah. There are other places. Yeah. Are they at that urban level? That's my point. If you, that's why I say some states don't have second cities. Abia. If you leave Umuahia, the next is Aba. Where are the rest? Where are the rest? Oshu. Maybe even Ikire, close to Ibadan, we can count after Oshogbo. You start thinking what to count. And these are children from these remote places. You trap with CBT and claim credit. The Zik, the Awolowo, Professor Shoyinka, Chinua Achebe, all came from such remote places.
Yes. And
were well prepared in those days. So the fact that you and I find ourselves in Lagos to speak grammar, we have no advantage over geniuses yet to be discovered that are growing in disadvantaged places. I dare say some of them in IDP camps, abandoned and forgotten.
Very true.
Are they so equipped preparatively? If Nigeria is looking at vision this, vision that, SDG this, millennium, is this how children in the global community are prepared for that year's challenge? So the matter is beyond we are heading somewhere. We want to abandon old ways. We should move at our pace, credibly, objectively. Look at the vast resources that our politicians squander. Some of these children go to school in buildings without roof. They are all there on social media. In the sit on
desk. That's what we should address.
It's you come from the root. You treat. Are we not treating symptoms, or how do they say it now, the doctor?
Yeah.
So that's my point. Dr. Tunji Alausa at the JAMB level, that's his portfolio. But he should look downward. He has spoken on the national television that unfortunately he cannot say the same for WAEC and NECO. That is where we should be looking at.
Very, very true. Doctor, I think it's very, very important. This is getting very exciting because of, when we look at these realities staring us in the face, it is actually so, so bad. But let's talk about the capacity of Dr. Tunji Alausa. He is a nephrologist, a medical doctor, whom all through his life he has worked in the hospital. He hasn't had any opportunity as an academia doing what he should be doing right now in the portfolio of the Minister of Education. Remember, this is the same man who said that we should scrap the 6334 without even understanding why it was created in the first place. So do you think that what we have are egocentric leaders who are more intending in self-gratification than allowing things work with respect to our setting, our culture, the spate of our growth and technology?
The minister is just a political appointee. And I believe there are career civil servants, educationists, and so on in the ministry who understand the system. They should be the one advising the minister. Whether the minister now listens to their advice is another thing. Sometimes I'm not too comfortable with people saying that maybe it should be an educationist that should be a minister of education and all that. We've had an educationist and the Minister of Education who was a disaster. So somehow, I think the Minister of Education, some of the things that he has said might be quite wrong. Maybe he didn't seek proper advice from the career civil servants who have been in the education ministry, who understand the nitty-gritty of the education system and all that. And also, I don't want them to restrict themselves to only civil servants who work in the office. There are practical educationists outside the Ministry of Education. In schools, I don't see any reason why once in a while the minister cannot summon principals of secondary schools, some selected vice chancellors, headmasters of primary schools, and dialogue with them. They are the people on the ground. they are the people that will give him good advice. For instance, as Innocent was saying, if you go to Tede in Oyo State, do they have CBT? Do they have light and all that? So principals from such areas or primary school headmasters and so on should be brought face to face with the minister from time to time. The minister needs to engage with all these people. They are the foot soldiers. The minister is just at the top there. The foot soldiers are the people they should be talked to. Okay, if we want to do this, what and what do you need for us to do that? Don't forget the computer and your smartphone almost have the same working system, sort of. If you understand your smartphone, you can understand some components of working with your computer. So, and the smartphone is almost everywhere now. Although in some areas you might say they still use the old, what they call Palasa and all those low-end phones. But don't let us underrate these children in primary school and secondary school and university. Some of them, the way, even those who are newly exposed to smartphone, if you see the way they operate it, you will marvel.
But doctor, there's a law
maxim. Where did they get this thing?
Doctor, there's a law maxim that says it's better to allow 10 guilty criminals go scot-free than to hold on to an innocent person who did not commit the crime. So we shouldn't say because young lads of these days can handle smartphones, therefore every one of them can do the same. There are so many, thousands of them.
And then secondly, the exams was not conducted on smartphones. So the savviness on the smartphone does not approximate to the an equal savviness on the computer.
You know?
Yes,
I agree with you.
The thing is, doctor, this is a passage that determines the future destinies of these individuals. It is at that serious level I am advocating. People are, if you have children, they will, whatever you will be in future academically, this is just the gateway. And you are okay, we are talking gadgets, so 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. It does not also approximate flights. In fact, for flight, you can catch your flight early and sleep throughout the journey and recover the sleep you lost. Look, the preparation, I don't know where this litigation will lead.
Yeah, exactly.
But I would tell you, it may not be victory for the, what's that language? The person is suing, is it the plaintiff now? It may not be victory for Barrister Wrongfully, but there will be a legion, a multitude of evidence through people who volunteer to testify. No, and by that time, it will be ugly.
Very, very true.
Even if the litigant losses, you will find out that, I mean, I just gave examples now, and my example is simple. Some states in Nigeria, look at, if you go to Bauchi, the second town is Azare. Where is the next one? If you go to Gombe, their capital is Gombe. Then where else? But people across all the local governments of this JAMB age will write their JAMB.
Very, very true. So we do not have the details of where this suit is going to. I just wished we had Barrister Vanso Fele to give us up to date of what this suit would look like and where it is right now, or if JAMB had answered or of course had taken up that particular case. But let's look at it from this angle, Doctor. Professor Ishaq Oloyede, who is the JAMB chair, equally had done really, really well. We should give him some flowers because he actually turned around JAMB, beyond what we see today, especially for students that have challenges, special needs, the blind. But there is a trend right now of kids with special needs bringing in other people with special needs to come help them sit for exams. In fact, there's a case of a blind person who invited a fellow blind person who already is enrolled in the university to come help him sit for the exams. So can we say that it's possibly because of the same CBT, which of course the special need candidates were equally involved in their own type of way?
No, I think that one is how did the special need candidate or smuggled in another candidate to sit for the exam for him or her? Because in every exam, they do thumbprints, and thumbprints are never the same. No matter even twins, their thumbprint is not the same. Then they have their ID, facial recognition, their passport photograph and all that there. So we should not blame JAMB for this. It is the center where this happened that we should blame. Because before any candidate comes into the exam hall, they are certified to be the right candidate. I mean, it's through thumbprints or facial recognition or whatever that they went into the exam hall. So how did one candidate substitute for the other candidate? It should be the problem of the invigilators at that center. It shouldn't be blamed on JAMB. JAMB is not culpable in this matter. It is the invigilators at the center. If they are JAMB staff, that's where you will say, but even if they are JAMB staff, JAMB didn't send them to allow a candidate to be substituted for another candidate. So I think we should lay the blame where it belongs. Don't let us throw away the baby with the bathwater.
Okay, but doctor, I would also say that another point for me is in Nigeria, we centralize too much. You know, it's a national exam.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so we centralize too much. We think it must hold the same day, the same time in Taraba, the same day, the same time in Anambra. No. Even as far back as when I wrote JAMB, there are typos. My number 1 may be number 10.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. So I don't know. It mustn't so that and that when I'm talking of centralization, that's where JAMB may also be constrained with regards to manpower. If you get my point. If everything is happening, even within a state, if everything is happening, and again with that centralization, we trivialize a place like Lagos to be the same as a place like Bayelsa, one state. But when you put the population and logistics and travels, it's not the same. So if we have such a important exam happening, it can be, I don't know, it can be graded, it doesn't need to happen at the same time is my point. You know, so and that centralization, exam materials will arrive at also time. When Abuja calls Lagos, that is 10 a.m. we start. No. Every town don't need to be. The bottom line is the exam will be well invigilated. Question papers are preserved from leaking, and whether CBT or whatever of people CBT trained can go ahead. Maybe it should be an option in the next 2-3 years while preparatory steps are taken across secondary schools leading to that exam.
All right. Just before we conclude, Doctor, I would love to ask you, the suit by the chambers of Evans Ofeli is asking that JAMB should totally cancel the examination and reorganize another one for the candidates. I do not know how far that would go, but let's just take a look at the repercussion of this particular sad news that we have from JAMB and this failure that we have. How do you think this would affect students enrolled or desiring to enroll into universities? You teach with a university, And I would love to know, how do you think this would affect or deny students the opportunity of having that dream course that they had always wished to have? How will this affect them and equally affect institutions in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think it's a very wide shot in the dark to think that JAMB should cancel the exam and reorganize and do it all over again. I don't think that is possible. The logistics and the money, the
resources,
the money that will be involved will be too enormous. So that leads to rest. In terms of talking about how it will affect the students, the entrance exam, JAMB is just like a clearinghouse. JAMB will set its own cutoff mark based on what the general performance of the students. Then universities also have that leeway to set their own cutoff marks. Some universities will set 230 for certain courses or 200 and so on and so forth. So a candidate who scored 200 perhaps and takes maybe a university like Unilag may not gain admission if the cutoff mark for Unilag is higher than that, not because Unilag is anything special or something, but because they are in the former capital and the business capital of the country, and many people are in Lagos, so they want their children, because of the insecurity, to school in Lagos. University of Ibadan might set its own a bit lower. The university in Birnin might set a much more lower mark, not because of anything, but because, well, maybe their catchment area, they know that their people may not score what other people with other universities set and all that and so on and so forth.
But with the mass failure, doctor, yes, with the mass failure that we have, with only 400,000, with the 400,000 out of 1.9 million scoring above 200, it means that it's possible that a large chunk of Nigerian students, according to the JAMB cutoff marks, not even the universities, might not even get to enroll into any university.
No. JAMB for now has not set a cutoff mark.
Okay.
And it cannot set a cutoff mark until it has all the results. Cutoff mark is a function of what is the overall highest mark and the median, or whatever the mathematicians call it. Then that's where they send the benchmark. Now, okay, if we had 220 as the highest scoring mark, then they put it on a scale and say, okay, the cutoff mark will be 150 this year. Last year, the cutoff mark was different from the year before. It was always like that. It varies. It depends on the performance of students in that very year. But to solve this problem, as Innocent said earlier on, I think we are too much in this business of centralization. I'm looking forward to a time when we will have maybe 5, 6, 7, or 10 universities allowed to get together to set their own, to have their own entrance exam, another 10 somewhere, another 10 somewhere, so that, one, it will give students opportunity to make a choice. In the 10 universities that band together, if there's 1 or 2, 3 universities my child like there, she can take the form. Another 10 universities somewhere, if she has another choice there, she can take, so that students can have multiple chances. That was what it was in those days before the advent of the creation of JAMB. We are having a blowout of population of kids who are eligible for sitting for JAMB. I believe I don't have the figure at my fingertips now. The number that sat for JAMB in 2024 and 2023, in 2024, we have more students who sat for JAMB than in 2023, I believe.
Yeah.
The same thing in 2025, more than those who sat for it in 2025. In 2026, the same thing will happen. So, the JAMB capacity to be able to accommodate all these students at once will be faulty. And also, you find out that sometimes some students perform very well in JAMB. Their WAEC results not as wonderful as they did in JAMB. Also, some of these students find their way into the university, and you ask yourself, question. I teach in a university, as you know, and then you ask yourself, how did this guy or how did this person pass JAMB? Because when you give them exam question, the way they answer, I mean, their thought flow is shallow. So there must be a way that where we must begin to make sure that we have the best. At the risk of sounding elitist, university education is not meant for everybody.
Said so.
If you go to the US, it's not every American that has a university education. But we are getting to that point now that every polytechnic is being turned into university, every teacher's college is being turned to a university, and so on and so forth. You have students who have the degree, but they don't have their skill. Is that what we want? No.
All right.
So, well,
we must encourage technical education and other forms of education. I mean, you have a graduate of engineering who cannot couple together simple electrical gadget. You have graduates of carpentry or something who cannot fix a door. Is that what we want?
Very true,
you have
Doctor.
a graduate of English whose syntax is horrible. I mean, so we need to re-examine university education very well.
Very, very true, Doctor. Innocent Aduluba, my last question just before we leave. I had wished we have more than enough time to do more justice to this topic, but we just have to leave. Our loss is always other people's gains. You need to see how much Ghana, for example, Benin, how much they make out of our students who travel all the way to these places for education. The kind of money, our own money, that's pulled out of the system to such economies. Out there, they don't know JAMB. All they are concerned about, you have the requisite results for whatever course you intend to do, and maybe one or two very simple things, and you get into school with the hope that the institution will train you to what they expect you to be like. So do you think all of these things that we do in Nigeria, JAMB, all of those things are just overhyped and just a means for the government to make money?
I think you took the question out of my throat. That's where I'm going now. In Nigeria, whether Lomé, whether Accra, Abidjan, Yamoussoukro, Douala, Yaoundé, or Birmingham, or Leicester, Oxford, Harvard, Nigerians apply to those schools from their phone. And I can say to that extent that the government of this country is an agent of poverty in the homes of Nigerians. That's Doctor, I don't know his age, but I doubt if he wrote JAMB. You just apply to the school. Did you write JAMB, Doctor?
Yeah, JAMB is very old now. JAMB is not something that started now.
So, but my point is...
It started in the 70s.
Yes, but once upon a time, just as we do, if I want to go to a school in Germany today, I will just apply to that school.
To the school, online.
There is no JAMB in Germany. Yeah. So, if education was invented from the West, how did Nigeria reinvent JAMB? Because, and then you do a post-UTME, you buy scratch card. So, Nigeria, to that extent, if you look at the exam, should scrap JAMB. Even those 10 schools you are saying, they are too much. They are too much. If it is only OAU Ife that I like, I gather my WAEC or GCE result and go there. If I meet the admission criteria, get JAMB out of the way. A lot of Nigerians within this JACPA period going abroad are doing that via the route of education. There's no JAMB or a centralized. And secondly, it tells us the lapses in our exclusive and concurrent list arrangement. It's not, and that brings me back to my topic of over-centralization. Education is over-centralized. It's the business of, in some countries, Henry, education is the business of the local government. The local government area. The school in their, yes. But here, the name JAMB already is so the federal government is so overloaded and overbloated and confused. JAMB expressly should be scrapped. If Mr. Obinna loves
State University.
No, you are even going far. Loves the new school, Taisholari, because the parent love the charisma of from Oweri. He will bring his child's credentials to Taswed in Ijago here in Ijebu and check if the school so find you admittable with possibly a placement test.
Yes.
You find your way. You cannot finish writing WAEC. You are cleared. Some people have cleared their WAEC long ago. Is this JAMB that they are waiting for? Meanwhile, they are better than many students who have crossed the JAMB.
Yes.
So I would say we should scrap the JAMB. We should scrap because we are from where you are. You apply to a school out there. From your seat, and once you pay their bill, present your credentials, off you go.
You have your visa.
So I mean, we should. we are delaying destinies.
Definitely.
And then there are many poor parents who have managed to carry their children through WAEC, hoping for a direct admission. JAMB is another financial obstacle. The government should scrap the JAMB. I mean, doctor, that's my...
I agree with you.
Yes, very, very true. Because I think we can't keep doing one thing over and over and expect a change when we know that the thing on that reference is not the right thing that would give us the hope that we need. JAMB has been very awesome. Of course, it has guaranteed students in the past and ensuring that their level of greatness and ingenuity, moved a notch higher. But at a point like this, I love to believe, just like Innocent had said, it should be scrapped. That's my opinion, though. Let's see how that would work. Thank you so very much, Doctor, for being here. We truly do appreciate you. Innocent Aduluma. Thank you as always.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, people, that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you to you for making this a date. We truly do appreciate once more, but please do well to visit us. You can check up on us or read more when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally rewatch when you visit us at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
and welcome to Homo Politicus. This is Enterprise Television. Kingsley Bass is my name. Very pleased to welcome you today. Today we turn attention to a very vital part of our lives as a people, as Nigerians. Yes, you know the importance of education. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that today on the show. So welcome to the conversation. Feel free to stop by the comment section to drop your comment about what you think regarding today's focus. Yes, we're talking about the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination 2025, organized, put together by the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board. And the result for the year 2025 has been released, and JAMB has disclosed that, the annual entrance examination for candidates seeking admission into Nigerian universities, into polytechnics and colleges of education have been quite poor for 2025. Well, for this year 2025, over 2 million candidates registered for the computer-based examination, and just over 1.94 million sat for the examination between the 24th day of April and the 5th of May. And looking at the breakdown of the result, according to the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, about 70% of candidates scored less than 200 of the 400 obtainable points, and only 0.63%, that's 12,421 candidates scored 300 and above, while a total of 24,535 candidates scored less than 100 marks. Well, parents, policy analysts and the rest have been talking about this and why this is the case. Why do we have this number of candidates, this huge, massive number of candidates scoring low in the examination? And so we turn attention to that today. I'm joined today live in the studio by the public policy analyst, Dr. Ojikutu Adeniyi, one who's been part of this process, not just the educational system in Nigeria, but he's been deeply immersed in the in this entire entrance examination process. That's the Unified Tertiary Matriculations. Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination. Once again, welcome to Homo Politicus. Kingsley Bass is my name. Let's welcome my guest today, Dr. Ojikutu Adeniyi. Many thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate
It's
that.
always my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Let's get deep into this. Lots of people, socials, via several platforms have been talking about the result for 2025, and the talk around what is responsible for this level of what some persons have marked or termed failure. First, before we get into that, how do you perceive the reports from JAMB regarding this result? The breakdown in terms of the percentage number, number of candidates who scored this, who scored that.
And basically, that's a very good one, because in the past, for the fact that there are no proper statistical breakdown of these figures, we may not be able to measure performance, and we may not be able to, provide solution to whatever. Now, for the fact that knowledge is expanding, there is no way an examination board will release results without breaking those numbers down. So that breakdown will help, planning for futuristic examinations. So I commend JAMB for doing this. In the last 3 years, they've been doing the breakdown and showing to the public, and everybody has an understanding of, how the success rates were and everything. So it's a good one on their part.
Interesting, but the number of candidates who scored below 200 and below definitely cause for concern. We want to see high flyers. Yes, it's acceptable. Not everyone will score high. Several factors are responsible for that. But what do you think is responsible for this level of again, what some persons have termed failure.
Now, the first thing I want everyone listening and seeing this program to know, and every concerned Nigerian, about the educational system, is that we should be happy that this is the true reflection of the performances of our pupils. So all the candidates, this is about like 95% and above of their true academic sagacity. So if that is where we are, we understand that the level of manipulation, the level of examination malpractice is below 5%. So if that is the situation, we should be happy that JAMB has been able to organize an examination that is giving us true reflection. Now, that is, one side of the story. Their true academic capabilities has been exposed. Now, why are the candidates not performing is another side of the question which needed to be answered. Now, let's go from this angle. Who are the stakeholders when it comes to academic performance? My analysis: the government, the school management, the society, the parents, and the flag-carrying members, which is the candidates. That's the student, the children themselves.
Yeah.
Should I name them?
You said the
government,
schools,
the school management,
the
society, the parent, and
the candidates themselves.
So these 5 critical stakeholders are the people that we should evaluate well. Everybody should do what they needed to be done, and we'll get better results. So now, should we break what they should do and how they should go by it?
Let's begin with who you think or what you think is responsible for this in the first place.
What is because everybody has not done what they need to do.
All right then. So
perfectly.
Okay.
So, and this is a trend. 2023, 2024, this is 2025. The same trajectory. So when we look at it, it's not as if it's just this year that we are seeing less than 30% of candidates scoring above 200. I'm scoring below 200. No. So I'm above 200. So now it's only 25, 24, 26. We've been moving around. All this data is showing us that less than 30% of the candidates scored above the average mark. So if this is the trend, so who is responsible is all these 5 stakeholders. How they are responsible differs.
Let's begin maybe, I suppose, from your categorization of the major stakeholders involved in this. JAMB will fall under government, yes? I suppose.
JAMB will fall under government.
Fantastic. Yeah. They are the ones responsible for this examination.
No, JAMB
the examination.
JAMB is not JAMB is a body that government has set up to help us evaluate.
Exactly. So they are responsible for conducting the examination.
So they are not responsible for the performance.
Great.
Their own duty is to help us grade our pupils in a unified way.
Now, here's the thing though, with what you just said. Some people believe that some of the policies of the board, of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, is responsible for the low performance. For example, students had to, for some of them, leave home, for some, depending on distance to the location, to the center where they would write the examinations. Some say that the fact that they had to leave home, some the nights before, some before dawn, that morning to get to their center and to get there in time before accreditation by 6:30, 7 o'clock. That could impact on these students, some 16, some 17, psychologically.
That would not significantly contribute to low performance. And I've explained this in one of the fora before, that it is the local government that you choose, is the area that you choose that they would put your center at. And when you choose Ibadan, for instance, is a big city. Lagos is a big city. It's a city-state. So if you choose a local government, for instance, and probably they take you to another part of the local government, it might not necessarily be that it's not still the local government that you choose. Some local governments are big that you still need a couple of time to travel within your local government. So therefore, if the area you are choosing is already filled up, they can take you to another location with nobody is actually or at any point in time has a genuine proof that it is choosing a state and is being posted for examination in another state.
And that local government.
Even in another local government, none. Even in another because the implication is that on that portal, the moment the local government that you prefer is filled up, because they didn't tell anybody to pick any local government, pick where you want. So if JAMB form comes out 1st of March, for instance, and it's going to be sold from 1st of March to 15th of March, if you get your form 1st of March and you want, for instance, you want Ikeja, you will probably get Ikeja. But let's say they only have space for 2,000 candidates in Ikeja, or let's say 10,000 candidates. The moment they get to that threshold of 10,000 candidates, remember that this is computer-based, form. So the moment that 10,000 is filled up for Ikeja, it will not give you option of Ikeja for exam center. So if you feel you cannot try the exam in Ikeja, you can choose the next local government that you feel is comfortable for you.
That exactly is the problem too, because some parents will say, how do you send a child to this
because
location?
You are not filling your form. They didn't send a child. JAMB did not send a child. People, when probably your preferred location is already, filled up.
Yes.
You have the option to fill the next most comfortable location.
That's exactly my point.
And the implication is that it is something that is programmed and planned. So you cannot say that. So that is to say that if you are not spreading those centers across the state, if because of the fact that we're giving an example, is for the fact that majority of the candidates are picking the central city or maybe the capital city, Ikeja, as it were in Lagos. Let's say 2 million, let's say 500,000 candidates wants to write JAMB in Lagos.
Yes.
And out of that 500,000, let's say 200,000 is choosing Ikeja. So the moment Ikeja is filled up, they cannot put all those 200,000 in Ikeja alone because we have 20 local governments and 37 LCDAs. So they still want to take those exams as far as Badagry, as far as Ibejuleki, as far as Ekpe, because they want it to be spread around.
Because we have candidates there
we
to
have candidates
to register.
So the implication is that there will always be congested, locations. The same thing with Ogun State. Maybe Abeokuta will quickly be filled up. Maybe in Ibadan, the central city, Bodija, maybe in Port Harcourt, the central areas, the city centers will be filled up than the rural. The same thing in Sokoto, the same thing in Bayelsa. So the implication is that Yenegua, for instance, might be filled up and they might take you to the next local government. It does not mean, or that is not to say that JAMB intentionally want to do you bad. It's because the form came out, for instance, the form comes out on the 1st of March. You are not filling your form until, and it's closing on the 15th of March.
Yes.
You are a late board. You are filling your form 14th of March. So you will only pick areas that are still left. And for the fact that there is a couple of time, you already know the local government you're choosing. So therefore, what you need to do is to know where you're going to sleep that is closer by, because already that state is your preferred state.
That's one plan, and that could work for those who have the resources to get that done. How about the plan to create more computer-based centers to accommodate these city areas? Isn't that something JAMB should be looking to do?
JAMB, you know that the people running JAMB are professors. So it's difficult we can suggest to them, but most of these things, they understand. Now, in the coming years, they will have seen the trend, and they will have been able to probably accredit more centers. And more so, you are talking about accreditation. The accreditations will only come by with people they can trust and people that they know that they have the credibility to conduct these exams. So it's not a just normal jamboree for Tom, Dick, and Harry to just say, I want to own a center. So they have their verification process, accreditation process for centers. So all these factors are things they will put in place.
All right.
So therefore, people should not even associate performance to examination time. None of the exams was when you started 6:30. What they said is exam starts 7:30, but be ready. Make sure you get to your center 1 hour before.
But we know what that could do psychologically to a candidate who's maybe not mature enough for the purpose.
Because the exam is not a theoretical exam. It's an optional exam. That is an objective exam. So therefore, cognitively, in terms of knowledge and picking the right answer from the options, I want to tell you that it's not likely to.
All right,
It's not likely to affect you. Let's assume you are cramming, because even the answer will surely be part of all the options that you are having. So if you know, you know.
Okay.
So when people come up with some of these things as excuse for exams, what of people that are scored above 300?
Well, their situation could be different. There could be high flyers naturally.
I want to tell you that
several factors could work out for them.
I want to tell you that when I saw people complain about some of these things, it's not the major. It's not a major cause or a cause to be reckoned with, as to do with performance.
Well, that's one. Location, timing is one that lots of persons have talked about.
Have worked on it. You will have worked on it before that day.
Some persons say, oh, they don't have the resources to lodge, their child or their ward somewhere over the night for that purpose. But that's one. That location, timing is one. Another reason and that factor, looking at the JAMB from a JAMB point of view now, could be the computer itself. There was this report of a particular center where candidates, as soon as they were done, started vandalizing the facility because they said the computers were slow, they were hanging, they weren't effective. As a matter of fact, I think JAMB also did mention that they were going to do a review of those such centers to see what works. Is that something too that you think might have been responsible, maybe not in high percentage, but responsible for the low performance?
If there are glitches,
yes,
and there are service problems and
yes,
all that, do you know that those candidates that eventually vandalized those that center will have still been able to put their complaints forward, and probably JAMB will have even considered them, considering the fact that the tool, what made the bad news to go round will still be what will make the positive news to go round. Parents, you need to see Nigerian parents. I took my own kids for JAMB. You need to see Nigerian parents, how passionate people were taking their children for exam. This is joy of parenting. So when I see people complain about it, I laugh. Yesteryears that people grow older to write JAMB 1920, but now the education is faster and we are encouraging it, that we should give them. Are you aware that I fought for candidates that are below 16? I think you are aware.
Yeah, sure.
That I fought for people below 16, and what I want JAMB to do is that people below 16, if they can give us analysis of their score, because what my own position was that there are candidates that are very smart that are below 16, and don't shut them out.
I think they did state that 40,247 underage candidates were permitted to take part in the exam, and then only 467 of that 40,000, that's 1% of these candidates achieve scores that meet the threshold for exceptional ability as defined by the by the board.
But don't be surprised that majority of the people that are supposed to write JAMB that are below 16, most especially in those inner states, they were discouraged not to go on. You know why? The reason is that the news, the negative news that came by, discouraged a lot of people from participating in this year's JAMB because of the negativity. So let's allow people, in fact, let people do it early, people that can afford it, so that they will understand what it is to be able to be ready for the coming year.
Go through it. Let's now shift the tension real quick to parents. Yeah, you did mention that you took your kids to yourself and you saw firsthand the passion, the joy on the faces of parents who took their kids there. But beyond, that's the date of the examination. Let's talk the preparation for the examination itself. What role should parents play? Do you think parents have done well enough, and that could be a factor for the results we have today?
Now, I said government, I said parents, schools, I said school management. Now, let's start from government. Government understand that their role is to have an educated society. Because if you have an educated society, the resources that you are going to deploy for security is going to be reduced. Because the higher the people get educated, the relatively low rate of crime
and poverty.
So that's number one. Government should do more, because they should understand that when they sponsor programs that has to do with, with things that are not relevant, basically to the discovery of innovation and growth of humanitarian society, it will, we will, at the end of the day, we'll be tweeting or bending towards a society of playful people, dancers and all that, and that will not lead to innovation.
But respectfully to dancers are very educated people too. We are
not saying education. Entertainment is not what gave us Bob. So as a society,
doesn't have to be.
We should, as a society, we should balance it. Now, hold on. I'm talking about
balancing that.
I'm talking about this thing. Now, for companies, we should understand that we should not just face. I'm not saying entertainment as a whole is it has a very good advantage for human psychology. Economically to balance their psyche and all that.
Yes.
But what we are saying is that government, as people that has the data of yesterday, today, and the future of the country they want to build, while we are encouraging people to go into a specific industry, we should encourage them to go into the futuristic industry for us to have a competitive society. Now, all these things that we're learning from other clients, in fact, we are exporting our own culture right now because people are accepting our culture, which is a good one for us.
Yeah, through music.
Through entertainment and music. It's a very good one for us. But what I'm saying is that the moment government is balancing it, the government is encouraging that, they should encourage education. Because if we cannot produce, we will be left to consume what other nations are. And the truth must be said. If we are not saying it, last year we were shouting about this call, that all of us, let's look inward. And now we are here, the same thing. The number of people that are going to be qualified as chemists, number of people that are going to be qualified as medical doctors, number of people that are going to be qualified. Who is going to, when everybody is becoming, we do other courses that are not related to probably science. Who are the people that are going to treat us in the hospitals? Who are the people that are going to treat us as public health people to prevent us from diseases? You saw what happened in COVID. So as a society, government role is to balance. Look at the future, look at the trend. If the number of people that are qualified to do sciences are reducing, encourage STEM, sponsor STEM, even for companies. When you want to do programs, when you are putting in a particular sector, you should remember other sectors for humanitarian growth.
All right.
So that if we do not, The implication is that we'll be left with society that, okay, do you want us to be importing pharmacists in the next 10 years? Because all of us has run to a particular sector of the economy.
Well, the United Kingdom, for example, the United States, some other climes have lots of Nigerians as medical doctors, as nurses, medical professionals there, and they're doing well.
Because they can afford it.
Oh well.
Because they have better societal plans and whatever benefit for those people. If I tell you majority of the people living abroad working as expats, if home is sweet, if we have those benefits that people get abroad, we have it here. I tell you 80% of those people living abroad that are Nigerian professionals would rather live in Nigeria.
That's for government, very quickly, because of
for
time.
the parents.
Yes.
For the parents, we have failed as parents.
In what way?
To understand the priorities. Now, you saw that some parents are very okay. Their children have 300 and above. Even some of those people that have 300 and above, they are doing SATs. They are not even schooling in Nigeria. But for the fact that they've been able to groom their children. Some schools are running for JAMB now.
Why?
They are running because they will encourage children to do SATs or do other foreign exams, because they know if they sit for JAMB, most of them will not pass. Because some schools have big names, low level of academic sagacity. That's one. Two is that parenting, we should try as much as possible to understand the fact that it is how you raise your own child. If you want to produce a medical doctor, you work for it. If you want to produce professionals, you work for it. If you want to produce people that are programmers, you work for it. But there are some things that are not basically professional line, because if you want to do a course that is not professional line, all courses are important. Even the person that pumps your tire outside is a very important person in the scheme of things. But what I'm saying is that there are some courses, there are some profession that does not require professional certification. It is open to everybody because it does not require special skills. We should not let our interest be too much on those. Those ones that require professional skills has to do with lives. It has to deal with human lives, and apart from that, has to do with some other vital things that help society to grow. So therefore, parents should try. You know, yesteryears, Yoruba families will say, I want you, everybody, they want them to be doctors. Nigerian family, educated families want their children to be doctors. That is why we are able to produce those medical doctors that you see that we export, which is a good one for us as a country. That's why you go to the US, you see Nigerian medical doctors, Nigerian medical practitioners, Nigerian nurses performing very well in America, in Canada, in Saudi Arabia, in London, in UK, and almost everywhere in the world. Now, if we are not increasing the numbers of those knowledge that we had yesterday, Baba Awolowo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Ahmadu Bello, they were able to build institutions that can build these people. But now, we should not let it fail in our own climb. So parents, our duty is to make sure that we reduce the television time, as it has to do with things that are not educative for students. Now, the mobile gadget that you have, numerous NSW, you know, it is a free on air. They can watch anything in the world. That is not good for a children without restriction. So we should make sure that we restrict these children, not that they will have the phone with them 24/7. Time for study should be known for time for study. Now, I have a news for all Nigerian parents. And this is the first time I'll say it. And I will create this awareness. I saw the Minister for Education and the Ministry of Federal Education that regulates the, education in Nigeria.
Yes.
They said that they want to start WAEC on CBT in WAEC.
Yeah.
Do you know the implication? What your children need is laptops, is the typing skills. There are different massive beacon tools that you need to type, the typing skills, and you know your Word document so well. So it's not time to give your children tablets to watch anything. It's a time to teach them on how to type and tap fastly at that. And now I want to tell you again that I know that if a system is going to be, if an exam is going to be conducted that is CBT written, there is every likely that there will not be spelling corrections on it, on the app. So therefore, you must master your spellings. They cannot ask you to write an essay and your essay autocorrect will not be there. That is, we are saying all these things. We have a year for every Nigerian parent. We have a year to work on this thing and make sure that we solve this problem by helping the pupils, by helping the schools should have computers. We should make sure that we check their speech time. How many words can you type in a minute? We give them things to type. We, make them practice so well so that we will not record worse results in WAEC. We have a year. They said we are preparing for 2026. So this is a year. Nobody will say, I'm not aware. The schools, the parents,
yes,
don't buy phones for children. Buy computers for them.
Would this not be the major problem as we close, for lot of students and candidates who want to write? Because how do we deal? We can talk about this, for city candidates, those in big cities, but we have lots too in rural communities who will not have access to computers, whose parents cannot even afford a phone. I'm talking the smallest phone, not talk about
that is why we are saying that NGOs, mosques, churches, private organizations, politicians, what we should encourage people to do now is to either have their own personal or we have community centers. Every city has a community center. So we will deploy that. They should deploy what they should do. The traditional rulers, the community leaders, is community center that has computers for training from GSS 1 to SS3. But majorly, people that are writing WAEC next year, we should make sure that as they are preparing, they are using their computer-based, and the examination organizers, the WAEC of this world, and they should give them mock exams, give them prototype of how the exams will be.
Yeah.
It should start from now so that people will have a 1 year training time to be able to understand how the exam will flow.
Long way to go, definitely, but we've got to go as well. It's been an interesting conversation, talking first about the conducts and the results, especially of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination 2025 conducted by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board. I'm speaking with Dr. Ojikutu Adeniyi, public policy analyst, who's joined me today to have this conversation. I'd like to thank you very much for coming to the studio and for having this conversation with me. And,
thank you very much.
You've heard to the future is computer-based, right? As a matter of fact, for many countries in the world, the present right now is computer-based, and Nigeria is tapping into that already, especially with examinations in the country. And so parents do well to begin to look in that direction. But again, as observed, rural communities will need to be served, and so they don't become, even further underserved when it comes to technology. We'll keep having this conversation, but I'd like to thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Stop by the comment section, let me know what you think, and indeed, I'll be reading and responding to your comment regarding this subject matter. Until next time, No More Politicals, make sure you're safe. Kingsley Bass is my name. I will say God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.